So how does a manage buy sell work? If you've ever heard of a double closing or a simultaneous closing in real estate, then you already have an understanding of how it actually does work. And you have a contract to buy and a contract to sell. A contract to buy a property, a contract to sell the same property to somebody else. You take it to the closing agent and he closes up both contracts at the same time. Now you must show sometimes proof of funds so you can legally close on the first contract. But the closing agent uses the money from your second contract to pay off the first. So your funds are never put at risk. Matter of fact, they're not even used in the transaction. They're just legally necessary for the transaction to take place. Again, your principal is never put at risk. The proof of funds is simply legally necessary for the transaction to legally take place. Okay? Now, your returns are not speculative, because you're not speculating on future price movements in real estate. If real estate goes up or down, it doesn't matter. Your prices are locked in, meaning your returns are contractual. It's the difference in price between the first contract and the second contract. You're managing the buy and the sell at the same time. This is the definition of risk-free arbitrage. The simultaneous purchase and sale of the exact same asset at the exact same time, but at different price points. Now, bank traders, they do this every day, all day long, but on the international financial markets. They're not using real estate, though. This is private, and it's invitation only. If you've never heard of it, that's why. Now, they do not use real estate. Instead, they use something called medium-term notes, or MTNs for short. Now, the main program banks, most of the trading is done in Europe, are Credit Suisse, Barclays, HSBC, and Deutsche Bank. So how does a manage buy sell program work? It's a $100 million trading contract. The trader gets 10-to-1 leverage at the program bank. So he's trading with $1 billion line of credit. He buys the MTNs wholesale and sells them retail. Basic business model. Buy wholesale, sell retail in smaller chunks. Even if they were only able to get 25 basis point markup, that 0.25%, when it's magnified by the 10x leverage, it's effectively 2.5% return net per transaction. Now they can trade at least one transaction a day, 5 days a week, 4 weeks in a month. That's 20 trading days in a month at least. And a 2.5% return per transaction, as we discussed earlier. That's 20 times 2.5% return is 50% return per month. Now the trader did most of the work, so he gets to keep a large portion of the profits. But your funds were necessary to fulfill the third-party rule, so that he could use your proof of funds to trigger the line of credit, fulfilling the third-party rule, because he's not allowed to use his own funds for the trading. Now, there's another component. Your client, with your 20% of the profits, you're also responsible for the economic project. Now, in an economy, you have production, consumption, and money supply. You have to balance all three. If you were to simply print money at large levels without increasing production, you would get the Zimbabwe effect. You get hyperinflation. So they must increase the production side of the economic equation so as to prevent inflation. How do they increase production? Through the economic project. And that is your stewardship, your responsibility for that. The trader is not going to do that. That's your component that you bring to the table. And so the $1 million and the $10 million clients, they piggyback on the 100M contracts. Now, if you have $1 million and you're making 20% per month, that's $200,000 a month passive income. It's a lot more than you need for your living expenses. Well, that's why you have your project. Now, over time, 20% per month compounds very quickly. Now, you're not going to use all of that for the project right at the get-go. That's just to help you get started. As you compound some of the profits, your $1 million grows to $10 million. And 10 million times 20% per month return, that's $2 million a month. Okay. Now, it takes just as much work to go from 1 to 10 million That's what it takes to go from 10 to 100 million. You just do nothing. Just let it compound at 20% per month or more. Over time, your money becomes 100 million, and at that point, you do have the project requirement kick in. 100 million times 20% per month, that's $20 million a month. Way more than you'd ever need for your living expenses. What justifies this is a project. So to participate in level 2, you actually have to have an economic project, and it needs to be over $100 million. That's kind of the bare minimum that they'll take. And so it's not about having enough money for your project. That's not the problem. The key is having enough project for your money.